Hey, altruistic followers and fans, how are you good at it, hearted fellas? It's ideally earthling. Was a Suresh with absolute delight back for my 53rd video in pipeline for publication on YouTube today, 30th of July 2020. Topic for discussion today is adverse effects of deforestation and degradation of land. Deforestation, clearance, clear cutting or clearing is the removal of a forest or stand of trees from land which is then converted to a non-forest use. Natural forests are being destructed to use the land for cultivation, building houses, factories and logging, making space for cattle grazing, extraction of oil, mining and construction of dams, or to obtain wood for making furniture and using it as a fuel. Forest wood has been essential need for us since the time of civilization and still continues to be the main source for many uses in our day-to-day life. One of the primary causes of deforestation is the production of timber. There is a lot of demand for timber, and so deforestation increases. It's a source of raw material which is used for the production of paper and also for construction. Prime effects of deforestation are greenhouse gas emissions, soil erosion, biodiversity losses, floods, proliferation of zoonotic diseases, infections like COVID-19. Trees help to maintain the water cycle and give shelter to the organisms. It takes place in an area that is densely populated by trees and is mostly observed in a forest like the Amazon rainforest. The most concentrated deforestation occurs in tropical rainforests. About 31% of the Earth's land surface is covered by forests. The extinction of the forest cover affects the biodiversity, which in turn threatens people's lives. Shrinking of the forest causes wide-reaching problems like soil erosion, fewer crops, flooding, water cycle disruption, greenhouse gas emissions, changes in the climatic conditions and loss of biodiversity. Illegal logging activities are very common that destroy the livelihoods of the people depending on forests. Wood-based industries like paper, matchsticks, furniture need a substantial amount of wood supply. Wood is used as fuel most commonly, and so large amount of trees are cut down for fuel supplies. I want to tell you something here. When computerization started, they said it will reduce the paperwork, reduce the paper consumption. Has it happened? Firewood and charcoal are used as fuel. Oil and mining of coal require a large amount of forest land. Construction of roads leads to deforestation as they provide the way to remove land. The waste that comes out from mining pollutes the environment and affects the nearby species. As the population grows, the needs of people increases, which further leads to deforestation. Forests shrink to a great extent to meet the requirements like the construction of roads, development of houses, mineral exploitation and expansion of industries. Increasing population directly affects forests. As with the expansion of cities, there is a need for more land for housing and settlements. That's why the man-animal conflicts have become very common. Actually, we have taken over their land. It is not that animals and other species are intruding in our into our land and all that. We are paying a heavy price, of course. We lose a large number of trees each year due to fires in the forest in various portions worldwide. This happens due to extreme summers and winters. The fire caused by man and nature results in huge loss of forest cover. The primary cause of deforestation is agriculture. Trees are cut down for use as building material or sold as fuel. Okay. The vast majority of agricultural activity resulting in deforestation is heavily subsidized by government tax revenue, as if they are doing a great service. Disregard of ascribed value, lax forest management and deficient environmental laws are some of the factors that lead to large-scale deforestation. Between 2000 and 2012, 2.3 million square kilometers of forests around the world were cut down. The removal of trees without sufficient reforestation has resulted in habitat damage, biodiversity loss and aridity. Deforestation causes extinction, changes in climatic conditions, desertification and displacement of populations as observed by current conditions and in the past. Deforestation also has adverse effects on biosequestration of atmospheric carbon dioxide, increasing negative feedback cycles contributing to global warming. Trees filter the air and let out oxygen, which all of us need. Global warming also puts increased pressure on communities who seek food security by clearing forests for agricultural use and reducing arable land more generally. Deforestation is more extreme in tropical and subtropical forests in emerging economies. More than half of all plant and land animal species in the world live in tropical forests. As a result of deforestation, only 6.2 million square kilometers remain of the original 16 million square kilometers of tropical rainforest Amazon that formerly covered the earth. An area the size of a football pitch is cleared from the Amazon rainforest every minute. Just think of the damage we are doing. Deforestation in the Amazon, with around 80% of all converted land being used to rear cattle, and 91% of Amazon land deforested since 1970 has been converted to cattle ranching. The global annual net loss of trees is estimated to be approximately 10 billion. As per an assessment in 2020, the global rate of net forest loss in 2010-20 was 7 million hectares per year. Globalization is often viewed as another root cause of deforestation, though there are cases in which the impacts of globalization have promoted localized forest recovery. Another cause of deforestation is climate change. 23% of tree cover losses result from wildfires, and climate change increase the frequency and power. The rising temperature causes massive wildfires. One possible effect is a change of the forest composition. The degradation of forest ecosystems has also been traced to economic activities that make forest conversion appear more profitable than forest conservation. People are so greedy. Governments are also very greedy. Many important forest functions have no markets and hence no economic value that is readily apparent to the forest owners and the communities that rely on forests for their well-being, like the local tribes residing inside the forest. Deforestation is primarily driven by subsistence activities and government-sponsored development projects like transmigration in countries like Indonesia and colonization in Latin America, India, Java, and so on during the late 19th century and the early half of the 20th century. Since 2001, commodity-driven deforestation, which is morally likely to be permanent, has accounted for about a quarter of all forest disturbances, and this loss has been concentrated in South America and Southeast Asia. Deforestation is, of course, contributing to global warming. Deforestation is responsible for approximately 20% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Plenty of carbon dioxide emissions. Deforestation causes carbon dioxide to linger in the atmosphere. As carbon dioxide accrues, it produces a layer in the atmosphere that traps radiation from the sun. The radiation converts to heat, which causes global warming, which is better known as a greenhouse effect. Plants remove carbon in the form of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during the process of photosynthesis, but release some carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere during normal respiration, especially during night time. That's why there is a saying that one should never sleep underneath trees during night time. Daytime it is good because it absorbs carbon dioxide and releases oxygen. Deforestation may also cause carbon stores held in soil to be released. Forests can either be sinks or sources depending on environmental circumstances. Mature forests alternate between being net sinks and the net sources of carbon dioxide. In deforested areas, land heats up faster and reach a higher atmosphere, leading to localized upward motions that enhance the formation of clouds and ultimately produce more rainfall. Deforestation affects wind flows, water vapor flows, and absorption of solar energy, thus clearly influencing local and global climate. Reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, shortly REDD, in developing countries has emerged as a new potential to complement ongoing climate policies. The idea consists in providing financial compensation for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. RED can be seen as an alternative to the emissions trading system, as in the later, polluters must pay for permits for the right amount of to emit certain pollutants, particularly carbon. Rainforests are widely believed by laymen to contribute a significant amount of the world's oxygen, although it is now accepted by scientists that rainforests contribute little net oxygen to the atmosphere, and deforestation has only a minor effect on atmospheric oxygen levels. I don't think that is true. It is all manipulated. The incineration and burning of forest lands to clear land releases large amounts of carbon dioxide, which contributes to global warming. Tropical deforestation releases 1.5 billion tons of carbon each year into the atmosphere. The water cycle is also affected by deforestation. Trees extract groundwater through the roots and release it into the atmosphere. When part of the forestry is removed, the trees no longer transfer this water, resulting in a much drier climate. Shrinking forest cover lessens the landscape's capacity to intercept, retain, and transfer precipitation. Instead of trapping precipitation, which then percolates to groundwater systems, deforested areas become sources of surface water runoff, which moves much faster than subsurface flows. According to one study in deforested north and northwest China, the average annual precipitation decreased by 1/3 between the 1950s and the 1980s. Trees and plants in general affect the water cycle significantly. The canopies intercept a proportion of precipitation which is then evaporated back to the atmosphere. The litter, stems and trunks slow down surface runoff. The roots create macropores, large conduits in the soil that increase the infiltration of water. They contribute to terrestrial evaporation and reduce soil moisture via transpiration. The litter and other organic residue change soil properties that affect the capacity of soil to store water. The leaves control the humidity of the atmosphere by transpiring. 99% of the water absorbed by the roots moves up to the leaves and is transpired. As a result, the presence or absence of trees can change the quantity of water on the surface in the soil or groundwater or in the atmosphere. Deforestation on lowland plains moves cloud formation and rainfall to higher elevations. The forest may have little impact on flooding in the case of large rainfall events. Tropical rainforests produce about 30% of our planet's fresh water, 30%. Deforestation disrupts normal weather patterns, creating hotter and drier weather, thus increasing drought, desertification, crop failures, melting of the polar ice caps, coastal flooding, and displacement of major vegetation regimes. Soil erosion also increases. The rate of erosion is around 2 metric tons per square kilometer. Soils are reinforced by the presence of trees, which secure the soil by binding the roots to the soil bedrock. Due to deforestation, the removal of trees causes slope lands to be more susceptible to landslides. Deforestation on a human scale results in decline in biodiversity, and on a natural global scale is known to cause the extinction of many species. Forests support biodiversity, providing habitat for wildlife. Deforestation can destroy genetic variations such as crop resistance irretrievably. %80 of the world's known biodiversity could be found in tropical rainforests. It has been estimated that we are losing 137 plants, animal and insect species every single day due to rainforest deforestation, which equals to 50,000 species a year. predictions have been made that more than 40% of the animal and plant species in Southeast Asia could be wiped out in the 21st century. Deforestation is occurring all over the world and has been coupled with an increase in the occurrence of disease outbreaks. In Malaysia, thousands of acres of forest have been cleared for pig farms. This has resulted in an increase in the zoonosis, the Nipah virus. In Kenya, deforestation has led to an increase in malaria cases, which is now the leading cause of morbidity and mortality in the country. This disease emergence pathway can be called range expansion, whereby the host range and thereby the range of pathogens expands to a new geographic areas. Accompanying the reservoir species are pathogens that have the ability to find new hosts in previously neighboring habitats. As these pathogens and species come into closer contact with humans, they are infected both directly and indirectly. Bats, through proximity spread the Nipah to pigs. Even coronavirus, COVID, is from the bats. Even HIV spread is because of it's a zoonotic disease, they say. It's a now well-developed theory that the spread of HIV is at least partially due to deforestation. Rising populations created a food demand, and with the deforestation opening up new areas of the forest, the hunters harvested a great deal of primate bushmeat, which is believed to be the origin of HIV. According to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC), 75% of emerging diseases in humans come from animals, zoonotic. The rising number of outbreaks is probably linked to habitat and biodiversity loss. In response, scientists created a new discipline, planetary health, which says that the health of the ecosystems and the health of humans are linked. 80% since the 80s, every decade the number of new diseases has increased more than 3 times. It's a spiral increase. According to the UN Environment Program, the coronavirus disease 2019 is zoonotic. The virus passed from animals to humans and then from humans to humans. Community spread. Such diseases are occurring more frequently in the latest decades due to a number of factors, a large part of them environmental. One of the factors is deforestation, because it reduces the space reserved for animals and destroys natural barriers between animals and humans. Another cause is climate change. Too fast changes in temperature and humidity facilitate the spread of diseases. Disruption of ecosystems can increase the number of animals that carry many viruses like bats and rodents. It can increase the number of mice and rats by reducing the populations of predators. God created everything in nature with a perfect balance, but humans have destroyed that balance. There is an imbalance now. According to American science journalist David Kuhlman, we cut the trees, we kill the animals or cage them and send them to the markets for human consumption. Humans are consuming anything and everything that moves. We disrupt ecosystems and we shake viruses loose from the natural host. When that happens, they need a new host. Often we are it, human beings. We are paying a heavy price. When climate change or deforestation causes a virus to pass to another host, it becomes more dangerous. This is because viruses generally learn to coexist with the host and become virulent when they pass to another. The strains change. That's why it is very tough to come up with a vaccine also. According to World Economic Forum, half of the global GDP is strongly or moderately dependent on nature. Short-term economic gains made by conversion of forest to agricultural or over-exploitation of wood products typically leads to a loss of long-term income and long-term biological productivity. Illegal logging causes billions of dollars of losses to national economies annually. The new procedures to get amounts of food are causing more harm to the economy and overpower the amount of money spent by people employed in logging. Rural roads promote economic development and also facilitate deforestation. About 90% of the deforestation has occurred within 100 km of roads in most parts of the Amazon. Rainforests once covered 14% of the 1/4 of the Earth's land surface. Now they cover a mere 6%. And experts claim that the last remaining rainforest could be consumed in less than 40 years. In the 19th century, the introduction of steamboats in the United States was a cause of deforestation of banks of major rivers, such as Mississippi River, with increased and more severe flooding out of one of the environmental results. The steamboat crews cut wood every day from the river banks to fuel the steam engine. In the 2019 alone, the world lost nearly 12 million hectares of tree cover. The blanket term REDD describes three sets of programs which use direct monetary or other incentives to encourage developing countries to limit or roll back deforestation. Funding has been an issue, but at the UN Framework or Convention on Climate Change Conference of the Parties 15 COP15 in Copenhagen in December 2009, an accord was reached with a collective commitment by developed countries for new and additional resources, including forestry and investments through international institutions that will approach $30 billion for the period 2010 to 2012. I wonder whether they spend the amount of money. There are so many committees, so many treaties, but nothing is really implemented. What is the point in talking about it? In Bolivia, deforestation in upper river basins has caused environmental problems including soil erosion and declining water quality. Transferring rights over land from public domain to its indigenous inhabitants is argued to be a cost-effective strategy to conserve forests. New methods are being developed to farm more intensively, such as high-yield hybrid crops, greenhouse, autonomous building gardens, and hydroponics. These methods are often dependent on chemical inputs to maintain necessary yields. In cyclic agriculture, cattle are grazed on farmland that is resting and rejuvenating. Cyclic agriculture actually increases the fertility of the soil. Cyclic, one should keep on changing what they plant. Intensive farming can also decrease soil nutrients by consuming at an accelerated rate that raise minerals needed for crop growth. The most promising approach is the concept of food forests in permaculture, which consists of agroforestry systems carefully designed to mimic natural forests with an emphasis on plant and animal species of interest for food, timber, and other uses. Satellite imagery can be used. Another method is hotspot analysis. Using expert opinion or coarse resolution, satellite data to identify locations for detailed digital analysis with high resolutions satellite images. Deforestation is reduced as supply can be replenished faster. Use bamboo instead of timber. In many parts of the world, especially in East Asian countries, reforestation and afforestation are increasing the area of forested lands. The amount of woodland has increased in 22 of the world's 50 most forested nations. Asia as a whole gained 1 million hectares of forest between 2000 and 2005. The government claims that at least 1 billion trees have been planted in China every year since 1982. China has also introduced the Green Wall of China project, which aims to halve the expansion of the Gobi Desert through the planting of trees. In Western countries, increasing consumer demand for wood products that have been produced and harvested in a sustainable manner is causing forest landowners and forest industries to become increasingly accountable for forest management and timber harvesting practices. Yeah, wars also lead to clearing the forest area and all that. Trees play a vital role in protecting our environment in several ways, so we should protect the forest. The best way to stop deforestation is replanting, also known as reforesting. Ban on cutting trees and new trees and planting more. There should be an implementation of regulations of laws at organizational and governmental levels due to the extent of deforestation. Heavy penalties should be imposed for the perpetrators, whether it is companies or individuals. Spread the awareness about sensitization and organize educational campaigns about the effects of deforestation, especially at school level itself. Ban the entry of people in the forest except forest officials and local tribes residing there. No tourism. Tourists ruin everything for their own entertainment. Ban them. Mitigate the effect of forest fire. Use appropriate technology and establish standard operating protocols, procedures, SOPs to contain wildfires. Allocate the requisite amount in the budget. Learn from the land. Developed countries are using satellite maps, helicopters, etc. to govern and control wildfires. Train the local tribes residing in forests to prevent illegal logging. Decides SOPs to contain wildfire and provide them the basic equipment like fire extinguishers, small firearms to drive away the illegal loggers. Most of all, be prepared for emergencies. That is very crucial. Some of the statements, views expressed are solely mine based on limited knowledge gained over 6 decades. Debates, discussions on topics like this can go on forever. Anyhow, let me call it a day. We meet again real soon. Always watch these videos with the CC closed caption subtitles for absolute 100% comprehension as per my sincere recommendation. Zillion times so far, that means infinite. I know I rushed through to complete the presentation within 20 minutes max. This is a time limit. I had set myself to retain the viewer's attention as of now. I know nowadays I exceed this time limit since I make honest attempts to cover the selected topic more elaborately, including so many intricate fine details, referring a wide variety of sources, in particular Wikipedia quite extensively, besides articles and books published recently. In addition, I add my own salt and pepper and masala based on my personal experiences so far in my life and also intuition. Stay at home as much as possible to maintain social distancing attributed to pandemic, novel COVID-19, and prolong your lifespan. Lead a healthy life. God alone can put a stop to natural and unnatural events, maybe bio-war and cyber war events like pandemic, which may lead to apocalypse and extinction of all sentient species on earth for no fault of theirs. All the best. Rest in peace and harmony.